Okay, I guess I started the recording. I didn't even know. Welcome to a long overdue episode of The Metallist. Things just been kind of jumping in the way. Plus, it was lacking a little inspiration, maybe. This is totally just something I've been thinking about for, talked to a couple people about a little bit, but something I'm just kind of thinking about today. And I'm like, you know what? It's time to talk about it. I'll consider this a bit of a rant, if you will. So today's topic is about Iron Maiden. And basically, my question is, what's wrong with 21st Century Maiden? Okay, you may have your personal opinions. Me, I'm kind of like, the last 20 years, not that good. Could be a lot better. I mean, some moments of brilliance, don't get me wrong. But, I'm just kind of thinking about it. It's like, what's wrong? What's going wrong here? Okay. And the new album is on the horizon. It may be in the stores. I've noticed a few people on Facebook have already got it. And I'm kind of like, ooh, I don't even know if I want to even hear it, which is ridiculous because, Maiden, as I've said in past episodes, is what I consider one of my cardinal pillars of rock and roll. They're one of my, personal big four, along with UFO, Thin Lizzy, Deep Purple, and of course Iron Maiden. So what's causing all this? So what is the problem with 21st Century Maiden? Well, initially, not much, right? Brave New World, pretty boss album, right? Honestly, I think it came out in 2000. I think technically the 21st Century doesn't start till January 1st of 2001. I could be wrong on that. You guys can correct me on that. But yeah, I was like, okay, well, this album pretty solid, nice to have Bruce back, all that kind of thing, So it was good to have Bruce. And we got Adrian back in the fold, and the guys in what I consider a class move decided to keep Yannick Gers on. And it's like, well, they could use 3 guitar players. That's not really an issue, right? Okay. So this album comes out. It's like Wicker Man. Awesome. Great song. Ghost of the Navigator, good one. Brave New World, good one. Blood Brothers, not thrilled with, a little bit long. It's a tricky way to make heavy metal people listen to waltz music because it is a waltz. Listen to it closely. It is. And my wife likes it, so I kind of leave that song alone. Mercenary, freaking awesome. Dreams of Mirrors, yeah, good stuff. Little too Queensryche-y, maybe. Kind of reminds me of something you might hear on Queensryche's Rage for Order kind of thing, but a good song. Fallen Angel, cool. Nomad, I don't know how they pull this one off, but Nomad is like 9 minutes long, but it doesn't seem like it. That's my biggest issue, I think, with a lot of the Maiden now. The songs are long and they seem long. It's like, are we done with this yet? Out of the Silent Planet, I'm okay. Thin line between love and hate. So album kind of fades off a little bit towards the end, but overall solid. Listen to this record a lot. Really enjoyed it. Great tour. If you've ever seen the Rio, how about that? The Dio Freudian slip, maybe? I don't know. The Rock in Rio DVD of Maiden from that tour, really good. Good stuff. Okay. So yeah, pretty boss album. Kind of like that one. All right, followed up by Dance of Death in 2003, I think. I can't show you a copy of that because it never made the trip from Ohio. Okay. It was not worthy of the Desert Island box, which we were coming to our personal Desert Island here. Okay. Dance of Death was kind of a weird song. I mean, honestly, a lot of the albums I don't even remember. I mean, I played them, but after a while, I'm like, I don't even want to. I remember in Rainmaker, mostly because the guitars at the beginning kind of sounded more like something maybe Thin Lizzy would have done. So I kind of dug that. Then they had, what was it? Passchendaele, that's kind of interesting. And Monsaker, they had some weird titles on that album. Those weren't bad, but the rest of the album, I don't know. Don't remember much about them. Okay. Next album, Matter of Life and Death. This one did not make the trip either. I honestly can't tell you what any song on that album sounds like. Sorry. I remember the quote-unquote single was this long-ass song called The Reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg, who I guess is actually not really a person. Yeah, that was just something they made up. I don't have a memory about it. The T-shirts are cool. I got a Benjamin Brieg T-shirt. It's pretty cool. On tour, they played that whole album start to finish, and people were not happy. So fortunately, I don't think I saw any of the tours where they actually did that. So that's a good thing. So what was next? So after that, Matter of Life and Death. Oh, The Final Frontier. Ugh. But I will say this much for The Final Frontier. It was at least interesting enough to dislike. The song The Final Frontier was a little different sounding from Maiden. I didn't really like it, but, it was okay. What was that one song? El Dorado, that was all right. Beyond that, I don't remember a whole lot. Was that song something about the way the wind blows or something? That one just kind of irritated me. But again, at least it was interesting enough to dislike. The previous two, I don't have much for them. And then finally we got around to this guy. Like I said, not going to talk about the new album yet. Don't have it yet. So I got around to this guy. The Book of Souls. All right. So technically this album did not make the trip from Ohio. This album was bought once I got here. Okay. And it has its moments. I don't know why we needed 2 CDs. Guys, instead of taking 5 years between records and giving us 2 CDs, why don't you give us a CD every couple of years? It doesn't have to be that long. Shakespeare said brevity is the soul of wit. Maybe you guys should think about that one a little bit. All right. Okay, so this one leads off with If Eternity Should Fail. Well, Eternity is failing, guys, because your songs are too freaking long. That's my opinion, of course. But, I mean, this song's not bad. I could do without the minute and a half of mumbling after it ends. And the next is Speed of Light. Well, it's got some cowbell on it. I can live with that. The Great Unknown, don't even remember what that sounds like. The Red and the Black, pretty good if you cut it in half. If that song was about 5 minutes rather than 10, yeah, pretty boss. It's kind of fun live. When the River Runs Deep, I don't know what that sounds like. Book of Souls, was pretty good. Death or Glory, not bad. Shadows of the Valley, no clue. Tears of a Clown, yeah, I kind of remember that one. That one's not bad. Man of Sorrows, no idea. Empire of the Clouds, a lovely song for a Bruce Dickinson solo album, but 18 minutes. Guys, come on. Seriously, I mean, it was an ambitious project, and I applaud them for the subject matter about, the airship disaster, all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right. But again, you could have made this a single album very easily, and it would have been a lot better. Just, that's just my thought. So I guess the new one's a double as well. I went, oh, really? Of course, it has been 6 years now since they put out this one. And I don't know. I'm half afraid to buy it. I'm sure I will, but I don't want to right now for the simple fact that I know I'm going to approach that album with a lot of prejudice. Even if there's something decent, I'm going, whatever. Okay, so back to my original question. What is the problem with 21st Century Maiden? Well, I've hinted to a couple things, that the songs are too long. They're not very memorable, a lot of them, But what's the common thread other than the band itself? It's this freaking producer of theirs, this guy named Kevin Shirley, who they nicknamed nicknamed the Caveman. Okay, I can see why, because his production is Neanderthal. It's not good. I mean, the records don't particularly sound great. It certainly doesn't sound like anything Martin Birch ever did, right? And part of the job of a producer is to tell the band when they're full of crap and their stuff isn't cutting it. And how can we make it better? That's what a producer does. He's got to be the guy that cracks the whip once in a while. This guy's not doing it. Okay? I think his middle name, I think his nickname shouldn't be Caveman. I think it should be, yes, Steve. And Steve, God love him. I mean, he did found one of the greatest bands of all time, for sure. But his love for Yes and Genesis and progressive stuff is just a little too much now. You guys are supposed to be a metal band. You're not supposed to be Genesis, okay? And the songs are just getting too long, too involved, too noodly. I mean, leave that to Dream Theater, because honestly, they do it better. And I'm not a huge Dream Theater fan either. I mean, I like stuff here and there. I enjoy seeing them play because they are masterful players, no doubt about it, as are these guys. And Maiden still is probably the tightest live band I've ever seen, which is good and bad, because when you go to see them, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and the songs sound great, and they're performing great, and that's all good. But what it really boils down to is, do I ever listen to any Iron Maiden live albums? No. The DVDs? Sure, I'll watch a DVD of theirs every now and again. But to sit and listen to their live records? No, I don't do it. Because it just sounds like the studio album with a crowd behind it. They don't really vary things much, and when they do, it's just usually some audience participation thing at the end. They don't really add anything different or new. So their live albums aren't that interesting, unlike Deep Purple, who, by the way, I have like 60 live Deep Purple records, because those guys were all over the board. You never knew what you were going to get there, but it was always pretty interesting and a lot of fun. So again, back to Kevin Shirley. This guy needs to put on his nun's outfit. He needs to get out the ruler. He needs to crack Steve across the knuckles and say, no, do not repeat this chorus again. Do not make this song any longer. Every song does not require 3 guitar solos. I know you got 3 guitar players, but you don't need 3 guitar solos. You were nice enough to keep Yannick on, but quite frankly, we don't need to listen to 2 minutes of his noodling on every single song. Okay? So again, he's got to tell Steve no. You got to shorten things up a little bit, I'm sorry. I read someplace one time that a person's attention span is like 1 minute for every year and tops off at about 20. Apparently, I'm still 10, okay? Because much past about 10 minutes, I'm like, no, I'm out, okay? And I guess maybe that's part of my problem with these guys. Maybe I got ADD. I don't know, okay? But again, Kevin Shirley needs to tell Steve no, okay? That's what needs to happen. But instead, he probably puts on the nun's outfit and Steve puts on the priest outfit, and I don't want to know what happens after that, okay? But he's not standing up to Steve Harris. And Steve really does need a little guidance, because there's been times in the past where Steve kind of does a lot of the writing in the band and things are a little too long and involved. They need to shorten things up a little bit. I mean, honestly, I would rather listen to Future Real. Yeah, a Blaze Bayley tune. But it's what, 3 minutes long, maybe? It speeds along, it's got a nice gallop to it. Quite frankly, I would rather hear Paul Di'Anno sing Future Real. That would be awesome. That's something to think about. And quite frankly, the Blaze Bayley albums, while I don't like them, I mean, let's face it, everybody hates Virtual 11. While I don't like those albums very much, there are some good songs on them, and they turned out to be really good songs, the ones they kept when they let Bruce sing them. The main example of that is The Klansman and Sign of the Cross. Now, Sign of the Cross, coincidentally, back in the days when this album came out, when the X Factor came out, 95, I think. Anyway, this is back when some of us were still using cassettes. Yeah, imagine that. I actually took, and I had a cassette and I had the CD, and I actually edited my own version of Sign of the Cross, and it was about 6 minutes long. And I really, really liked it. I don't understand why so many of the Maiden songs nowadays have to start with like this low, drony, kind of slow, usually a bass kind of intro kind of thing. It's like, no, enough. Let's get to the tune, I don't need all this warm-up, thank you. I mean, Sign of the Cross, I could have just started with Standing Alone in the Wind and Rain. They could have started right there. I'd have been fine, But quite frankly, I can sing as good as Blaze Bayley on that. Poor Blaze. He doesn't have much of a range, but he's a hell of a good guy. And his solo records are pretty damn good, to be honest. So again, my biggest issue is Kevin Shirley. They need to get rid of this guy, and they need to bring somebody in and say, you know what? People are tired of this. You know what people want? I'll tell you what people want. They want this. They want this. Yeah, there's a long song in here, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, but there's one long song. They're not all long songs. We don't need an entire record of Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which, by the way, is also too long. I mean, that whole section in the middle with the creaking and, the reading from the poem and all that stuff. It's like, let's get to the party, all right? But, I mean, the rest of this album, I mean, most of the songs are 5-ish minutes, maybe less, and it just blazes right along. I mean, you're through side 1 before you know what happened. Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Lost for Words, Flash of the Blade, The Duelist. Man, you're through it, Back in the Village, a little funky, but it's kind of grown on me over the year. Power Slave, while it's an 8-minute song, it doesn't seem like it. You know, a master classic, and then rhyme. I mean, beautiful, right? And don't even get me started, because this is still my favorite record. Okay. And this stuff is fast, it's punky, it's aggressive, and it's got Paul Di'Anno, which I've gone on ad nauseum about my fascination with him. So again, you know, I'm just looking for something like that. So I'm really kind of scared to even buy the new Maiden album, but I will, and I may even do like a reaction thing to it, because I've only heard that Writing on the Wall song one time. You know, it's kind of like, oh, really, is this where we're going? Now, I will say that I do remember it sounds a little different than Maiden, but quite frankly, I would like to have back my 4 or 5 minute gallop, you know, a couple good solos. I'd be fine, okay? All right, enough, okay? Rant freaking concluded. I want to thank you all for listening, and hopefully I'll get another video out here pretty soon.